Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome all to today's webinar on transforming consulting and professional services with Odoo. Let's take a few minutes to kind of have everybody here online. The chat section, the comment section is open for everybody to comment in. Good morning, good morning. I can see already a few people are here. Uh, while we wait for everybody to join in and kind of warm things up, just let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me all right, if you guys can see me all right. Just hit with a thumbs up or just write here, okay, anything, just to let me know that you guys can hear and see me all right. All right. And while we wait, good morning, good morning. And while we wait, it's also going to be fun if you guys can also drop in the comment section where you guys are tuning in from. I'm obviously here in the Odoo Middle East office in Dubai, but I would love to know where you guys all are signing in from. I see you. Perfect, perfect. That means I am visible and I am audible as well. That's brilliant. All right, just going to give a few more seconds so that people can kind of jump in, kind of warm things up. Perfect, perfect. Lovely seeing all of your comments. Don't forget to grab a cup of coffee or your favorite tea. I have my own mix of some hibiscus tea here. So we are going to be having a very, very enjoyable conversation today. So come on up, guys. Settle down, grab your favorite beverage, maybe some snacks as well. And we're going to be soon starting the discussion that we all are here for. All right, all right. I think I see a lot of people already here, so I believe we can begin. All right, a few people from Dubai, a few people from Lebanon. That's perfect. Nice. So let's begin by first of all introducing myself. My name is Rafid Ahnaf. You guys can just call me Rafid. That's RAFID. I'm working as a functional consultant here in Odoo Middle East, and my specialization is dealing with the services industry. Hence, I'm here to talk to you guys about the consulting and professional services with Odoo, right? Specifically, the webinar's name is Transforming Consulting and Professional Services with Odoo. So we're going to be jumping in and discussing how Odoo as an ERP is transforming the businesses in the services sector, specifically in the UAE, but in general, specifically all over the world as well. Okay. All right, I think we can start with our discussion. Now, the chat section is going to be open. Feel free to drop in your questions. I'm going to take a pause from time to time and kind of read out the questions, try to answer them as well. Let's make this an interactive session as much as possible. So let's hope to kind of enjoy while we're here as well, all right? Okay, perfect. Now, let's begin our discussion today. Now, before I officially jump in, anybody has any questions in mind that they want me to address anytime? Now, this question doesn't have to be specifically regarding today's discussion. It could be anything and everything related to Odoo, right? So just drop in your questions here and I'll make sure to kind of go over through them at any point in time throughout this discussion, right? So just drop in your questions here. All right. So now we are going to get some action. Transforming consulting and professional services with Odoo, right? I've already introduced myself. I'm working as a service industry expert in Odoo Middle East. My full name is actually Sheikh Rafidanov. Some people call me Sheikh, so you can keep that in mind as well. Now, in an introduction, right? Why are we all here today, right? Now, why are we going to be discussing about the things that we want to discuss in the foreseeable time that we see? Today's agenda is a practical exploration of how Odoo creates value across the consulting and professional services ecosystem by addressing real world challenges with a unified end to end solution. Ooh, that's a bunch of heavy words, right? Now, let me break it down to you. What we really want to achieve here is kind of use Odoo as an ERP system to identify the common pain points in professional and consulting services and then put Odoo as in the middle ground of all of those processes to help you build a solution, right? So basically using Odoo to solve any business problems that any professional and consultation service industry faces. That's all. Now, what's the agenda today? The first agenda is to define or to show you what Odoo in general is. Then we're going to also dive into the different aspects of consulting and professional services, what they are, how they are different, etc. Next, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about some of the common industry challenges. We're going to be talking about how Odoo transforms businesses using its ERP and its stackable applications. And finally, we're also going to be seeing a live demo, guys. So make sure to stay till the end of the presentation. That's where the actual fun is going to be beginning. Okay. Now, what is services industry, right? Now, a services industry can definitely be a very broad topic to talk about, but let's break it down into these two, let's say, streams, right? First of all, professional services, right? Now, what are professional services? Professional services, for example, it could be legal aid, right? It could be, let's say, I am a developer and I am providing a professional service to any company in kind of creating their application, the mobile application or their website, right? So the first point that you see here is knowledge based. A professional service requires expertise or specific education in that field. A professional service can also be, in this new age and generation, uh, content creation agency, right? I know how to create content, I know how to edit videos. So my service is I'm providing content creators the service to enhance them in their craft so that they can create better videos and earn more revenue from those platforms, right? Second point, customized solution, right? Not one size fits all. This is one of the major, let's say, highlights of a professional service or even a consulting service industry. For example, let's take an example of, let's say, any retail business, right? Let's take an example of a restaurant. If I'm selling burgers, there's only four, five, or let's say maybe even 10 variants of burgers that I can sell. Each and every one of my customers will fall into any one of those burgers, right? They would fall into the demand of any one of those burgers. But when I'm providing a professional service, it's really hard to kind of consolidate all my products and services, right? Because usually it's a customized solution. Each client or each of my customer would want something different, right? The services is definitely client focused, right? I cannot just sell them a product and the product is homogeneous, the product is the same across the board. No, my service, it has to be client focused, right? Whatever the client is demanding from me, that is exactly what I have to give to the client. Often billed by time or milestone. Now, this is also very important, right? Um, in a traditional business, if I'm selling a phone, let's say, right? If I'm selling a phone, once I have sold that product, I'm charging for that particular product that I'm selling to the customer, right? Easy. I'm selling them a product, they're providing me with a price for it, right? But in services, especially in professional or let's say in consulting services, the time that I'm providing to the customer is often billed to the client as well, right? If I am in a service where I am doing some sort of a marketing, let's say, consultation for you, I look into your business and then I give you feedback and then I prepare or design a marketing solution for you. The number of time or the amount of time that I'm consuming to kind of do all of this work, I'm going to bill this to you, right? Or maybe I will be billing to you once I reach certain milestones in the project, right? So, sir, professional services are often billed by time or milestones, and definitely, it relies on trust and reputation, right? Whatever service that I'm providing, it's non-tangible usually, right? So it has to rely on trust and reputation. Similarly, consulting services are somewhat similar. It's advisory focused, not just execution, right? So go back to the example of, let's say, legal consultation. It's advisory focused. In more cases, it could be seen that consulting services rely less on execution, but more on the advice, right? More on advisory. Even let's take the ERP consultants, right? Some ERP consultants, clients hired them just to give them advice, just to give them a guidance, right? The second point is also very important, right? It's a problem solving oriented mindset, right? That I am going to provide you a service to solve your problem. I'm going to help you to get out of the problem and so that you can reap the most benefits. Usually it's project based or retainer based, and high expertise is definitely required. And it's often a temporary engagement, right? Now, we've already talked about a few examples of professional services and consulting services. I would like to know from you guys, um, what kind of professional service or consulting service you guys belong from, right? It could be the legal industry, it could be the marketing agency. There are so many more, right? I would love to know a bit from your end as well. So feel free to comment what kind of service industry you belong from, and let's see if we can kind of pick something from there and discuss about that. That would be really nice, right? So yeah, feel free to write down in the comment section while I move forward in the presentation. Now, what is Odoo, right? Let's talk about this for a bit. I know a lot of you are here because you already know what Odoo is, but there also are a lot of other people who probably have heard the name of Odoo for maybe the first or second time in their lives, right? Now, what is Odoo? Odoo is an ERP company, right? It's an ERP software. What is an ERP software? An ERP basically stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. As the name suggests, it's basically a software that allows you to accurately optimize your resources so that you are saving time, you are saving money, and you are able to make business decisions fast. And also, very importantly, you are able to have traceability so that you can have audits done, so you can track all your transactions, you can track all your touch points, right? So in a very non-technical way, that is what an ERP stands for. Odoo, just like any other ERP, is an ERP as well, right? What makes Odoo different is Odoo is a comprehensive ERP. Odoo is a complete enterprise resource planning solution that integrates various business functions, including accounting, inventory, sales, manufacturing, and more, right? So, in one word, it's all in one. Next, customizable modules. Odoo's modular design allows businesses to tailor the platform to their specific needs, selecting the functionalities that are most relevant. If you are a business that doesn't sell products, you don't have to use, let's say, the Odoo's inventory module. You can start using Odoo without that, for example. There is the need to kind of store everything in the cloud, right? This is what the new generation, this is what new business is all about. Everything is cloud based, and so is Odoo. So Odoo is a cloud based solution providing businesses with the flexibility to access the data and tools from anywhere, anytime. So traditionally, you have to be where your business is. What Odoo offers you is flexibility and freedom to an extent. You can move anywhere and you can access your business through Odoo anywhere, anytime, right? This is what Odoo looks like from a very top line view, let's say, right? Odoo is a bunch of applications or modules, as we like to call it, and it integrates really, really well with each other so that you don't have to leave the application and go to another application to fulfill your business objectives. One application or one, let's say, software allows you to go through multiple touch points of a business, be it your CRM and sales, or be it accounting, be it documentation, be it inventory management, purchase, etc. Right? Businesses who use Odoo, they usually see something like this. Compared to businesses who don't use Odoo, they probably see something like this, right? And I'm sure you are aware of a lot of the names that are here, right? Each and every application, traditionally, other businesses will be using different applications to fulfill that business need. While in Odoo, all of these culminate into one system. Okay. Now I'm going to take a bit of a pause here and just go through the comments a bit to see what all you have been writing. Digital governance and transformation. All right, that is very, very interesting. Digital governance and transformation. I would love to know a bit more about it. So feel free to kind of write in a bit detail as to what you do, what your role is, what kind of tools that you're using in your day-to-day life, what specifically you want to see in this presentation today regarding Odoo. I would love to know that, right? We implement Odoo and provide advisory services on business consulting. That's great. That's perfect as well. Even from your end, would love to know a bit more about if you're using Odoo yourself, how are you using Odoo? What are some of the, let's say, advantages that you face so far? Feel free to write them in the comments. Okay, perfect. Moving on. Traditionally, any kind of service company, the business flow looks something like this, right? It always begins with lead management. Now, depending on the type of service business, some people might call it lead, some people might call it opportunity, some people might even call them customers. The idea is to have a foundation where all your paying customers can funnel in through one central channel, let's say, right? So we can let's just call it lead management for now, right? Service businesses have to have a channel or have to have a gateway where the customers or potential customers can come in, right? It's very important to manage those customers. Now, there is a difference between the word lead and customer, right? What is a lead? A lead is a business opportunity, somebody, or let's say it could be a person, it could be a company that wants to purchase your service or your product, and you can generate revenue by providing that product or service, right? So it's very important to manage that lead. Once we nurture that lead, then we can move them across the funnel so that finally they can become a paying customer. So lead management has a lot of stages, a lot of steps. That's why we use the word nurturing, right? Because it's kind of like a plant. We have to water it, we have to protect it from birds, we have to give it enough sunlight, but not too much. So that's why lead nurturing is very, very important. Only then we can convert those leads into opportunities, and those opportunities is going to give us sales, right? Now, sales depends on communication. Sales depends on being transparent, right? Once we are moving those leads and opportunities from the lead funnel to the sales funnel, before we close the deal, right? We have to build that trust with them, right? So that's why communication is important. Replying to their emails on time. If the customer is requesting for documents, if the customer is requesting for information, making sure to reach out to them on time. Even if we can't reach out to them with the correct information, at least letting them know that who else will, so that they do not lose that trust, right? So communication is important, and for that robust communication to happen, it's also important to keep proper structure, right? So that reminders are set, people can set up appointments, people can set up reminders or follow-ups, right? Etc. After we have actually provided, let's say the contract for the customer to purchase our service or product, then comes the actual operation part of it, right? Which is the service delivery and management, right? Now, let's take an example again, right? Let's take that a law firm has provided their client with a legal advisory service, right? Now, the legal advisory service might take 2 or 3 months to fulfill. How you are dealing in that 2 to 3 months, how you're providing timely reports, how you are communicating, how you are actually letting the client know what would be the next steps, what would be the next major milestones is very important, right? Because we have to remember, we are in the services business, right? It can't be seen, it can't be touched in most cases. It's not a product. So the only thing that matters is something which I've also mentioned in the few slides before as well is trust and reliability, right? If I trying to keep everything separated, right? My contacts in one page, my documents in another folder, etc. I'm going to lose a lot of time, and then that leads to fragmented information, that leads to customer dissatisfaction, that leads to loss in sales, right? That's why it's very important to be very, very efficient and very, very punctual when it's time to deliver service and managing that service delivery. After that, once the service is done, post sales support, right? Now, let's take another example of a business, right? Let's say now I am a web development company. I have a client who has come to me and I am providing them a web development, right? I'm creating a website for them, right? The service delivery part is done. Now the post sales support, I've already sold them the service, right? But I'm still allowing them to come back to me for me to fix some of their issues. Post sales support is very, very important because that allows you to have a recurring customer, that allows you to retain your customers, right? And not just in terms of, let's say, web development. Even if I go back to the legal counseling example, even after the legal counseling is done, right? If I am keeping a record of their data with me, and if I'm letting them know that, okay, I have some of your data with me, I have some of your information with me, etc. What do you want to do with it? Do you want me to keep it so that I can I can keep, like, I can keep a record of your database so that if you need my help again, I can easily look up your information and help you, like being transparent with them. So, right? That could be an example of a post-sales support as well, right? Kind of managing the customer's issues, right? Making it easy for the customer to reach out to you, right? See, it's important that I am solving my customer's problem in the post-sales support, but I feel more important than that is allowing the customers to easily reach to me, right? The more barriers that I will have, the more difficult that I would make the customers to reach out to me, the more dissatisfied the customer would become, right? Some of you would agree with me. Most businesses thrive more than the, let's say, the level of service that they provide is because the level of after service that they provide, right? So that's where post sales support is important. And then, of course, accounting. We have a lot of customers. We have a lot of invoices going out. We have a lot of expenses that we're doing. Even to manage our own, let's say, office premise, we have a lot of expenses, bills that we pay, right? So all of these falls in accounting, right? Having a strong accounting team, having a strong accounting system helps you eliminate a lot of those headaches, right? Not everybody wants to sit in their computer or laptop at the end of the office every day and kind of go through all the bills, go through all the invoices, and kind of reconcile everything on day to day. We want a lot of things to be automated, right? And that's where Odoo comes in as well. Now, all of this combined helps you build the customer lifetime value, right? Service industry has the most number of repeat customers, right? Imagine, let's say if I buy a house from a real estate company, right? What are the chances that I'm going to be going back to them to buy a second house, right? But if I'm taking a service, for example, let's say somebody has mentioned that they implement Odoo. Some of one of my attendees in the comment section, right? You mentioned that you implement Odoo, right? And you provide advisory service and business consulting. Now, if I am coming to you and I have asked you to kind of give me an advice or give me an advisory service on my business, which you have provided, and I'm happy with it. Next time, when I'm facing another challenge in my business or I want my business to grow, chances are, if I was happy with your service, I'm going to be coming back to you. I don't want to spend time in kind of looking for another firm that's going to give me the same service, right? So that's why all of these are very important. It plays a crucial role in kind of building the customer lifetime value. All right. Okay, moving on. Again, I'm just going to come back to you guys. Anything that you want me to kind of repeat, anything that you feel you kind of confused, if you feel I'm going too fast, if you feel I'm going too slow, just write them down in the comment section. Okay. Now, the services workflow diagram, right, is going to be showing you what are the different applications that basically touch all those, let's say, all those points, right? So first of all, we have the customer management, or let's say lead management, right? These are some of the applications in the Odoo ERP that helps with that, right? So we have website, we have appointments, then there are a few marketing tools, SMS marketing, campaigns, then the CRM itself. For sales, we have sales, subscriptions, and rentals, three different applications to deal with three different kinds of sales, right? Then finally, we have service delivery and management, right? The operations, how managing the service, right? So we have projects, we have timesheets, planning, field services, etc. For post sales, after the sales is done, right, we definitely have the invoicing so that it helps me build a strong foundation to kind of send those invoices out and have like a strong system built out. But more importantly than that is also having a channel where my customers can come back to me every time that they want to reach out to me to solve their problems, right? So help desk is one of the applications. And finally, accounting, right? In accounting, we have accounting reports. We can see the profitability. We have budgets. We have analytic accounts. We have follow-up reports. And we're going to be trying and showing you a bit of it when we go to the demo, right? So let's just stick till the end so that we can see all of this. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about the different challenges in the services industry, right? Now, as I'm going through this particular slide, I also want you guys to write in the comments some of the challenges that you are facing let's say in today's day and age with your business, right? This is the most important aspect of our discussion today, right? We want to discuss these challenges that you and I are facing in this business, in this services industry, and then we're going to be trying to map out all of those challenges onto Odoo to see how Odoo can add value to solve those problems, right? To solve those challenges, right? So take a few seconds, articulate in your mind. Feel free to write down any and every challenge that you're facing in the comment section. And while I start talking about all of these challenges in the deck, let's see how many we can find that are in common. All right. Feel free to kind of write them down and let me move forward, right? What is the first challenge? The first challenge is fragmented customer data and engagement, right? If I have a lot of customers coming into me, right? Right now, probably I have an Excel file where I'm writing in the customer's name, the customer's address, that maybe the phone number, email address, that's it, right? That particular Excel file, the only purpose of it is to create, let's say, like a phone book for my customers that is not giving me any other value, right? That is not helping me in creating a sort of a database where I can get insights, I can get some value from that particular data, right? So that particular Excel file is not letting me know whether there are any pending invoices from that client, whether I have to send them out any invoice anytime soon, how many sales I have done with them, what are the recurring products and services that they have been purchasing, etc. Right? Now, some of you might argue with me that what is stopping us from doing it? I can go back to that same Excel sheet and I can add those data. Yes, you very well can. Imagine the number of times that you have to open that Excel sheet and put in like so many different types of data, right? And it's not just putting the data, but it has to be updated at real time, right? Then you have to hire somebody who is going to be basically your Excel manager, right? And you have to provide them the data. They have to go into the Excel sheet, and then upload those data, right? Doesn't make sense, right? So that's the first major challenge in the service industry is the fragmented customer data and engagement. Next, inefficient record keeping process. Similar, right? Let's say a customer, I'm going to provide them with a business consultancy service, right? Now, with a business consulting service, I'm going to focus on, let's say that I'm going to, let's say in the UAE, there are a lot of businesses which helps other businesses, let's say open their license or kind of establish their firms or companies, right? Now, if I am such a firm, if I'm such a company, I will have a lot of customers who want to have their businesses open. And opening a business requires a lot of documents, right? It could be government mandates, registration, permit, licenses, tax filings, you name it. For me, as a company who's providing these services to, let's say, at least 10 different customers, then if I have at least 10 different records or 10 different documents to establish a business, that means 10 documents into 10 customers is at least 100 such documents, right? Now, if I'm just asking my clients to email these documents to me and I'm either downloading them in my computer in a folder, that's fine. That sounds neat. But then it's not so simple all the time. I might be going through a document and I might find that, okay, this particular document, let's say the bank statement that my client has provided is expired. So I need to ask him to send it to me again. The client sends it, but at the same time, a second client has sent me the same data, right? Chances are I might swap those data into different folders, right? So it's inefficient how record keeping right now works, right? Because there are so much data, so many documents that we need to go through, especially in services industry, that it's really, really difficult to kind of have a very manual workflow to maintain that, right? And please let me know if you don't agree with me or if you do agree with me, right? I would love to know your point of view and your feedback as well. Limited alignment and visibility, right? Now, let's go back to the same example where my customers or my clients are sending me documents for me to review, right? If I feel that, okay, I need to let my client know that this particular document is not up to the mark, what do? I probably have to email the client, right? Or maybe I have to probably call the client and then let them know that, okay, this particular document that you send me, it's not up to the mark. I need you to resend it to me, okay? And the client tells me, okay, fine, I'm going to resend it to you in a couple of days, right? Done. Class. Your job is done. Or is it? You need to make sure that this particular communication or this particular, let's say, blocker, right, has been addressed properly, right? You need to keep a note of it and not just putting a note in a diary. You need to have a note so that it reminds you and it also reminds everybody else in your company who's working for this particular project or service that this is something that's creating a blocker, right? So that it highlights it to you, right? So it has to, everybody has to be aligned and there has to be proper visibility, right? So limited alignment and visibility also is a major challenge in the industry as well. Real-time reporting and analytics, right? Now, you would notice one thing here as I'm going through all of these challenges that these are interlinked as well, right? Now, the reason why these are interlinked is because this is how the service industry works. Each and every aspect, beginning from customer acquisition, sales, post-sales, your finances are interlinked, right? Now, these challenges are going to be interlinked, and I believe that's why Odoo works best in solving these problems because Odoo as an ERP has all these applications interlinked as well, right? And I would love to show that to you in a bit, right? So just hold on to it. So real-time reporting and analytics, as I mentioned a few minutes earlier about that Excel file having all your customers' information, right? And if you want to have a real-time analytics, a real-time reporting as to okay, how much how many invoices are due for this customer, right? What is the total revenue that I've generated from this customer? How many customers have, uh, how many new customers did I receive this month versus last month versus last year same time, right? There are so many different views or so many different angles that I would want to see my data, right? Um, you know, there is a famous saying somewhere that um, if you put a blind man in front of an elephant, there are seven different ways that a blind man would interpret an elephant to be. One would say an elephant looks like, looks like a long pipe. Somebody would say an elephant looks like a long pillar, right? Because each and every individual who are unable to see the elephant, they're feeling the elephant from different points of view, right? So that's why it's very important for businesses to see their data from different points of view and not just see them, but also connect them, and then they can get the bigger picture, right? I hope you like that example, by the way. All right, moving on. Team collaboration across internal and external stakeholders, right? Right now, we have, let's say, a team of 50 people working in different parts of the business, right? Some are working in marketing, some are working in sales, some are working as the accountant, some are working as HR, right? Now, all of these different departments essentially are driving the business towards one goal, and that goal may be, it could be anything, right? How are you ensuring that the entire team are collaborating, right? How are you ensuring that internal and external stakeholders are collaborating, right? You might have, let's say, a platform where you can chat with each other. Maybe you're using WhatsApp, right? But you're just communicating through WhatsApp, right? Are you guys actually able to collaborate when you're using those sort of tools, right? Are you able to share documents? Are you able to share milestones? Are you able to create visibility? Are you able to create alignment through not just your employees, not just your internal stakeholders, but as well as your customers, as well as your external stakeholders, right? So there has to be a system, a holistic system where all of these can be achieved. Okay? Perfect. Let's take a bit of a break here. I've talked about a few points. Before I move in, there's a bit of low activity that I'm seeing in the comments. I think some of you guys forgot to get your cup of coffee. So feel free, go back to your kitchen, grab a cup of coffee. Let's get that energy going on. There was a lot of comments going on. I don't see so many comments here. Or you guys feeling bored, or you guys are so excited that you don't feel like commenting. Let me know through the comments, right? I want this to be a very, very interactive session. If I don't get to hear from you, I wouldn't know how to kind of go forward with this session. Okay? All right. Next up, difficulty in tracking recurring revenue. Now, for a lot of service industry businesses, let's say, let's take an example of, let's say, an app development, or let's say a web development, or even with, let's say, the legal service, right? Now, if I am a business, I might require legal services from time to time, right? If I am coming to you as a legal consultant, right, and I'm taking your service, I might come back to you after a few months or maybe even a few years, and I would want to get that service from you again, right? Or let's put it in a different light, that I have come to you and I've told you that, hey, I need some legal advice, I need some legal service, but I need it for the next 6 months. Okay? That means for every month, each month, for the next 6 months, I'm going to be taking your service, and in return, I'm going to be I'm going to be paying you for it, right? Now, from your point of view, this is what we call is a recurring revenue, right? That every month, the revenue is going to be recurring from that same customer, right? How do you track that? I'm sure this is something that happens to probably a lot of you, right? In the consulting industry, in the professional service industry, there are a lot of retaining customers. There's a lot of, let's say, recurring customers, right? Recurring revenue that's being generated. How do you keep track of that right now? Right now, because I've the customers or a lot of businesses which I have spoken to, this is one of the most difficult things that they have to maintain, right? Because even if you are writing it down, even if you have data that, okay, the customer A is going to be purchasing my service for the next 6 months, starting from, let's say, the 1st of May, right? Now, do you know when that service is going to end? Sure, for one customer, it's easy. Can you remember the, let's say, the service contract date of, let's say, 15 customers, 20 customers, 30 customers? That's when it kind of starts to get a bit heavy, right? Now, all of these problems, if you look at it in one way, are not actually such a major issue, right? When we talk about limited number of customers or limited number of projects, sure, maybe an Excel file can help you achieve that, right? But what is stopping the business from kind of scaling is the inability to kind of have all of these different tools to help you scale your business, right? Okay. So next up is weak invoicing process, right? Now again, you have to send an invoice to your customer, right? You're probably using like a Word file to create an invoice, right? And whenever businesses send out these invoices, there is no sort of tool or no sort of analytics to kind of help you understand what is the status of that invoice, right? Now, there could be a process where I'm creating an invoice. There could be a process where I've sent the invoice. There could be a stage where the invoice has been paid, right? How do I how do I keep track of all of these stages, right? Again, I can go back to an Excel file. Each time a stage is, let's say, touched, or each time a touch point is crossed, I can go back to that Excel file and adjust it. And as a business owner or somebody who's managing the business, imagine how difficult that would be to do that each and every time somebody is touching an invoice, let's say, right? I can hire somebody to do that, but then what's the point of doing that, right? When all of these can actually be solved with one simple tool. Uh, okay, we have one question, and I'm going to get back to that in a bit. Thank you so much for that question. Hold on to that. I'm going to come back to that once I finish this slide. Ineffective cost tracking and budgeting, right? That's also a very, very big issue as well. Now, we know that a lot of customers who come to us to seek professional service or consultancy, they have a budget, right? An expense budget. Now, I have to manage my service in accordance to that budgeting, to that budget, right? Now, in order to do that, I need to not only keep track of the budget that the customer has, I need to keep track of the expenses or the costs that I'm doing for that particular service or that particular project of the customer, as well as the revenue that I'm generating from that particular customer. Only then would I be able to stick to that budget, right? So ineffective cost tracking and budgeting, again, is a major, major issue, right? Okay. Project tracking and milestones are unclear, right? Whenever there is a customer that requires us to create a project and then track that project, right? Project tracking is difficult because we're not sure as to who I have assigned this particular task to, what are the tasks that they need to do, what are the milestones. If the milestones are defined, then what are the timeline, what are the allocated hours, what are the objectives that have to be met in order for these milestones to be checked, right? All of these are very difficult to do on pen and paper, right? There has to be a collaborative approach towards to solve all of these. Last but not the least, lack of standardized processes across operations and teams, right? All of these culminate into this one last statement, right? If we don't have a standard process across teams and operations, none of these will come in light. None of these will be successfully implemented, right? So think about this. I have fragmented customer data and engagement, and let's say I'm using a tool to solve this. Excellent. I have inefficient record keeping process. I'm using another tool to solve this, right? Now, as long as I don't have a standardized process, right, across my operations and team, none of these will continue to work as they should have been working, right? So this is a major issue as well. There should be standardized, or let's say a standard operating procedure, a standardized system that the entire company or the entire business has agreed, and that it can be scaled across the operations and teams so that each and every department or each and every function are working in synchronization to each other, not creating any sort of hindrance or blockage to any or other function. And all of the functions and all of the departments are working together in synchronization to achieve the same goal, right? That should be the goal of any business, but more specifically for the service industry. Okay, is there an e-invoicing setup tailored to a government entity for a specific country? As we know, e-invoicing is replacing normal invoicing. Yes, so as far as I'm aware, we are working on the e-invoicing for UAE. For any other country, I'm not sure at the moment. I can look into that and I can get back to you. But yeah, for the UAE, I'm aware that we are probably working on that. Okay. Recurring revenue is reflected as a business as of deferred revenue in accounting module. To answer that, I would say the recurring revenue is something that we can manage or monitor using the Odoo's subscription module, right? And I'm going to be talking about that in the demo as well, right? Why Odoo do not go further in a module that can generate SOPs before we implement the business process generated from user stories? Why Odoo do not go further in a module that can generate SOPs? I would need you to elaborate on that, right? So if you can just elaborate on that question, and I'm going to come back to that. Okay, let's move on with the slides. Okay, now let's take some of these challenges, right, and kind of break it down into the problem the problem that we're facing, the impact it has in the business, and the solution that we can get from Odoo, right? Now, the first one is fragmented customer data, as I mentioned, right? What is the problem? The problem is the customer data is scattered across the system. What impact does it have? The impact is poor visibility, duplicate records, missed opportunities, right? Now, first of all, yes, it's very, very clear that if my customer data is scattered across systems, then I'm going to have poor visibility, right? But if my customer data is scattered across systems, I can also have duplicate records, right? That would create a lot of problems as well. And then if I have duplicate records, let's say one of my customers' name is, let's say, Sam, right? I have an invoice from Sam and I know that Sam has to pay me against that invoice in the next month. If I have a duplicate of the same exact customer named Sam and I look into the duplicate data, I might not see that this particular customer has to provide me or has to pay against that invoice, right? So duplicate records create missed opportunities as well. What is the solution? The solution is having a centralized CRM in Odoo with a single customer view where you can see all your customer information and all, let's say, sort of linkages to the customer as well, right? What can be linked to a customer? A customer can be linked to an invoice. A customer can be linked to an opportunity. A customer can be linked to a sales order. A customer can be linked to a project, right? There's so many things that's happening. So it's important to use the CRM to kind of have that central, let's say, view on my customer's journey. Okay. Next, inefficient record keeping, right? What is the problem? The problem is manual and time-consuming documentation, right? Let's not even get started with so many documentation that a lot of companies, a lot of business owners has to deal with, right? Not just documents of customers, but documents of their own business as well, right? You have your own invoices to send, you have your own bills to send, you have your own let's say legal documentation, company registration, etc. And then you have your customers who sending you, let's say their bank statement, they're sending in, let's say their scope of works, etc. Right? It's so difficult to manage all these documents, right? And some of these documents are your customers' assets. So you have to be very careful that you do not tamper with them, you do not lose them, or somebody doesn't steal them from you, right? What is the impact? The impact are definitely errors, delays, and compliance risk, right? Solution is having an automated document and data management using Odoo documents. Odoo documents allows you to automate a lot of document collection, help you store and categorize these documents, and it becomes very easy for you to access these documents. And you can also create access rights so that not every user who's using the Odoo ERP will have access to these documents, right? So you can make it very customizable. And it also allows you, and I'm going to be showing this to you in the demo as well, allows you to share these document folders with your customers. So you don't have to send them an email and ask them to send you each and every document via email every time. You can send them the link to one of these document folder, and then they will be able to directly upload these documents, right? And you will see when you log in that all those documents are neatly arranged in that folder that you have shared with them. Neat, right? Okay. Real-time reporting and analytics. We are over relying on spreadsheets, right? And I've repeated this instance many times throughout this session already, right? Because it is a real problem. We have so many different spreadsheets. Each spreadsheet has a different kind of data. Each spreadsheet is being managed by a different employee. None of these spreadsheets connect with each other. One spreadsheet probably has been, there's like a complex formula. Probably it has been changed by somebody, and then it has broken the entire data. That spreadsheet has a link to another spreadsheet, and then now that spreadsheet is not working, right? It's a complete mess. The problem is we are over relying on these spreadsheets and they are not consolidated, they are not integrated. The impact is data inconsistency and lack of real-time insights. Solution, real-time reporting in Odoo. Now, I'm not saying that get rid of your Excel files, right? They might have their own value. But what Odoo is offering is sometimes you don't even need to have your data downloaded or added manually, and then you have to go back and create let's say a report, let's say like a pivot table, and then go back and create a chart, right? 3 or 4 steps can be avoided by simply using the inbuilt reporting in Odoo, right? You can see here, I have put here an example, right? Here, as you can see here, we are in the sales module, right? And we can see 2 different graphs here of the same data. The data is basically the total number of sales across, let's say, 1 year, let's say across 365 days, right? I have basically just got into the sales module, clicked on reporting, and this report or this chart was automatically created for me, right? I can then just select how I want to see the data, whether in an area chart like this or in a bar chart like this. As simple as that. 1 click versus, let's say, 4 different actions. Imagine the time that's being saved here, okay? Next up, difficulty in tracking recurring revenue, right? I believe somebody has asked a question on recurring revenue. So let's talk about the recurring revenue here, right? Now, one of the key benefits of the recurring revenue or the subscriptions module is basically it simplifies managing of recurring invoicing and contracts. You have improved visibility into the monthly recurring revenue, and there should be, let's say, a deliberate reduction in the missed renewals, right? One of the Odoo key benefits is the automating subscription renewals and invoices minimizes errors and enhances revenue forecasting, ensuring business can scale efficiently, right? Now, subscription is a product which I will be definitely showing as well. So if you have any more questions regarding subscriptions, feel free to write them down in the comments and I will be coming back to them. Team collaboration across internal and external stakeholders, right? So we have the project, sales, and timesheet application. What are the key benefits? Improve coordination between internal teams, external collaborators, and after-sales support. Some important metrics is fewer communication delays and faster issue resolution. The Odoo key benefits are enables collaboration with internal teams and external freelancers or contractors, aligns sales and delivery teams, And the help desk application manages after sales service using team workflows for quick resolution, right? Then we have ineffective cost tracking and budgeting, and we're using the project and accounting tool to deal with this problem. The key benefits are better tracking of project costs and revenues and simplified budget monitoring. The metrics, reduction in budget overruns, right? That's also a very major problem. Budgeting itself and then kind of overshooting that budget. Increased accuracy of project cost estimation, and Odoo key benefits are integration between projects and accounting provides detailed cost and revenue analysis in automated budget tracking, ensuring financial control, right? Each project that you're doing with a customer, Odoo will allow you to link accounting very easily with those projects so that you can see how much you're spending on each project and how much you're earning from each project and what is the total profit that that's remaining after the project has been completed. After this, what more can Odoo do for your business? Definitely, I have not exhausted the complete list of applications and modules that Odoo has. There are definitely a lot more than Odoo can do for your business. We have employees, which you can use to manage your employees, hire them, have their contract set up their salary structure, set up their payments using the payroll application. You can have different kinds of employees, different kinds of payment structures, create their payroll, even go for manual payment if you need. Then we have fleet management, right? A lot of companies have their own fleet, own cars. It becomes a very big headache to manage all those fleets. So the fleet application actually helps you deal with that. Then we have the purchase application, right? This allows you to build basically a very robust procure to pay system of your business in Odoo, and many more. All of these applications help you build a successful business, right? Now, there are going to be a lot more events in the near future which are going to cover all of these and more application. So make sure to look into the events page of Odoo so that you're up to date and you are aware of what are some of the newer events that are coming in. Okay. All right. Let's go back to the comment section for a bit. Is it possible to do billing to a customer at the same time set up a corresponding payable? If you mean that if you can bill a customer and also get like have a payable to a customer, then yeah, sure. In Odoo, a customer or a vendor, we call them as partners, right? Now there are possibilities that a partner can be your customer and can be your vendor at the same time. Yeah, sure, that is possible. I have seen companies offering Odoo community version, which is free available. The modification customer is easy as compared to the latest V19. Okay, that's an interesting opinion. That is a very interesting opinion as well. All right, drop in more questions. I finally feel that kind of the momentum is kind of building up. Drop in even more questions, right? I'm going to be covering those as I go by, and let's move on now to the live demo. Okay, now before I go to the live demo, I'm going to be giving you a little synopsis as to what to expect from this live demo, right? All of these different applications that I've spoken about, I'm not going to be covering all of them. I'm going to be taking a particular scenario and then I'm kind of going to be building a story out of it, right? So feel free to kind of add in your comments, add in any time that you feel that I've gone too quickly or gone too slow, or if there's a specific example that you want to see, drop that in the comment as well, and I will try my best to incorporate that in my live demo as well. Okay, perfect. Let's move into the live demo. Now, I want to know from all of you, how many of you have seen Odoo before or have used Odoo before? Anybody who has used Odoo before, who is using Odoo now, is already an Odoo customer? Is there somebody who wants to explore more about Odoo? Anything, just let me know in the comments. All right. Currently using. All right. Perfect. Nice. Sounds good. So while you guys are writing in the comments, I'm going to be sharing with you a story of one of my own customers, right? And the problem that they were facing and how Odoo actually helped them solve it. It's a very, very interesting story, to be honest. So I have a customer who basically deal with providing business consultancy to other companies, right? So if there's somebody who wants to open their business, my client basically helps them with that, right? Now, one of the major issues that they faced was every time that there was a new customer who was onboarded, they have to track that customer's progress, right? Now, each customer was different because each customer required different kind of solution. For example, let's say one customer wanted to open a business in the free zone in the UAE. Another customer wanted to open a business in the mainland zone. Another customer just wanted to buy some consultation hours so that they can get some consultation. One customer wanted help in kind of migrating the business from one region to the other, right? So these four instances are four different services. Each service has a different way of charging the customer. Each service has a different, let's say, project or let's say phases. So how do you easily deal with that, right? So the solution that this client was provided is that each time you have a service that you're providing to a customer, you create a project template for each of these services. And every time that you're selling a service, the moment a service is sold, a project is going to be created under that template that you already have, right? So imagine that every time that you're selling a service, a project is going to be created so that you can internally keep track of the progress. You can let your clients know the milestones. You can keep track of your employees who are lagging behind in delivering those services, right? And all of these with just one click of a button, right? Versus for them having to create like a different folder, add in all the documents, etc. Right? Speaking of documents, one other major issue of this client was that they didn't know how to collect documents effectively. They have their clients sending in the documents through WhatsApp, through email. Some used to come to their office physically and provide them the physical document. You can imagine it was a mess, right? The solution here was they used the Odoo's documentation application. And in order to save their own time, they basically passed the buck to the customers, right? What they did is every time there was a new customer, they created a folder with that customer's name, added that customer or shared that folder's link to the customer, and basically sent a customer a list of documents, right? Now, for each kind of service, they had a different kind of list, which they had added as a document or added as a note. Each time there was a customer who selected one of these services, they would simply send them the list of documents and then ask them to upload the document through that link of the folder, right? This reduced so much back and forth. This reduced so much data loss, let's say, right? And the life became so much more easier because now everything was happening in a flash of a second, right? Everything was happening so quickly. Everything was documented. They hadn't lost anything, right? And this is one of my most favorite customer success stories that I have dealt in my time in Odoo, right? And I would like to similarly show something very similar today in the Odoo demonstration as well, right? All right, let's go through a few more comments before I jump in. I'm currently Odoo learning partner. All right, congratulations. I hope you climb up the partnership hierarchy soon. Currently user as well for last 6 years. So you are also a user for last 6 years. All right, perfect. Let me know what's your favorite module, and let me know what's your favorite application to use. Would love to know. Explore more here. Okay, we have been using Odoo and learning different features. All right, that's interesting as well. Let me know what are some of your favorite features. Let me know what other application that you would like to learn. I would be happy to guide you as well if you need my help. Okay, this is what the Odoo database looks like, right? Now, as you can see, this is a bunch of applications. Somebody said, can you increase your voice? I'm just going to be coming closer to the microphone here. Let me know if my voice sounds better now. Okay, I am assuming that my voice is a bit better. Okay, let's jump in. First and foremost, whenever a user logs into Odoo, this is what the Odoo, let's say, the welcome screen looks like, right? You have a bunch of applications here, which we call module, and then we have some information at the top here as well, right? Now, all these applications here or modules are not going to be visible to each and every user, right? We have in Odoo something called the access right. So depending on which user you have provided the access, they might be able to see less or more application, right? Because it makes sense. If I am the business owner, I don't want my accountant to see what my sales employees are doing. I don't want my project team to see what my accounting team are doing, right? So that's something that you can do. Now, for the sake of this conversation, we're going to be having all these applications here, and we're going to be trying and looking through all of them here. Now, let's talk about a few applications which are, let's say, the basic application, right? First and foremost, we have the discuss application, right? What is this? This is your internal discussion tool, right? You can use this to have conversations with your internal employees, or basically employees who are using Odoo, right? In a company, if there are 50 employees and let's say 30 of those employees are using Odoo, those 30 employees can chat with each other using the Discuss application, right? Some of you might be aware of using WhatsApp. Some of you might be aware of using Slack, right? This is exactly like that. And it allows you to also create channels, something like a WhatsApp group, let's say, and you can actually have a channel for your individual department or individual function or individual team, and you can share files, you can have a conversation, etc. Okay. After that, we have the calendar application. This is a very basic application. It's basically a calendar, right? So you can see your meetings. If you have used the calendar to book the time, you can also synchronize this with your Google Calendar, right? And we're going to be showing you what the calendar application can do when we move forward in the demo. Now, let's skip appointments for now. We're going to come back here later. Let's go to To-Do. To-Do is basically a personal to-do list, right? You can go here, click on New, and basically I want to add a task for myself, right? So let me write a task for myself. Let's say call Mr. John on the 9th. Okay, and I can give myself, let me correct that. Okay, and I can give myself a deadline as well, right? That I want this to be done by the 9th. Okay, and now I can click on add. Now you can see that I have a task, or like say a to-do done for myself, right? Now, if this is something that I want to keep, I want to prioritize, you can see there are 3 stars here, right? I can select first star to show medium priority, the 2 stars for high priority, and 3 stars for urgent priority. Okay. Now, based on these priority, it depends. Based on the priority, if I have a lot of tasks, the higher the priority, the higher it would show up in my let's say in the stage, right? And then I can move the task across stages. For example, if I want to do this task today, I can simply move it here, and now I will know, okay, so for today these are the tasks that I need to do. If I want to add a task that I want to complete by this week, I can simply move it to, or create a new task and add it to this week, and then I will know, okay, these are the tasks that I need to do this week. Okay, so on and so forth. And once I finish my task, I can simply drag it and move it to done, just like this. And here I can click and I will mark this as a completed task. Okay, perfect. Then we have something called the knowledge application, right? The knowledge application, it's kind of like, let's say, the Wikipedia for your company, right? You have a lot of SOPs, a lot of company documents that you want to keep in a central database. And if you want to do that, the knowledge is what you need to use, right? For example, let's say if you have new employees who join your company, and every time a new employee joins, you want them to go through the company's principles, your company's, let's say, objective. You want them to go through the company mission and vision. You want them to go through the HR handbook, right? You can add all of those documents here, and you can simply ask your employee to go through all of them here. Once they go through all of them, once you have all of those data here, you can also add your employees, let's say, welcome message here as well for all your other employees to see, right? You can also add in, let's say, if you have a new policy in your company and you want it to be spread across the entire company so that it's saved somewhere, you can simply go to new article, write an article here, and save it here for all of your employees to see, right? So knowledge is also a very, very helpful tool as well. Okay. Now, let's talk about contacts for a bit as well, right? The contact application allows you to create new contacts, right? You can see I have already created a few contacts here, right? Now, let me show you how we can easily create a new contact. Now, what are contacts basically? Contacts are individuals who can be my customers, who can be my vendors, right? And I can add them here in the contacts application in Odoo, right? In order to create a new contact, I simply have to come inside the contact module, click on new, and now you can see that it's asking me here. I have two options. It's either a company or it's either a person, right? So contact can be a person and a contact can be a company as well, right? Now I can either add a company here or I can add a person and then add the company name here. Either way, it's both fine, right? So let's go ahead and create. Let me show you how easy it is to create a contact here, right? Let me create a contact. If you want, you guys can let me know the name of a company that I should add here, and it would be fun if I can pick something from your comment and add it here, right? So let's name the person Brandon Freeman. Okay, let's add their email address here. Okay, we can also add a phone number. Let's go ahead and add a random phone number here, 971. Okay, very random. I hope it's not somebody's actual number, by the way. Okay, now, no suggestions yet, so I'm just going to be writing here a random name of a company. Let's go with ABC Company. Okay, and you can see the moment I write this, two things happens. First of all, since my database is based on the UAE localization, it whenever I write a name of a company here, it's suggesting me actual companies by looking up in the internet, which fill this name that I've typed here. Okay, somebody has written Unispire Group Dubai. Okay, let's go ahead and add that. See, when I typed in Unispire Group, you can see that that name already shows up here as well, right? So if I click it, it should be the business which Mr. Bilal is putting down in the comments, right? So you see, when I put it here, you can see that a few information shows up here automatically as well, right? If I want, I can select this, or if I want, I can not select this and add it by myself, right? For the sake of this conversation, let's just go ahead and add it, right? It's fine. So I'm going to save this. So now Brandon is let's say is a contact who belongs from the company Unispire Group. Okay. Now I can save this by simply clicking on this button here, and it's going to be saved. Done. I want to add another contact from the same company, right? What do? I can simply click on new again, and this time I'm going to add person. Let's say this time the contact that I'm adding, their name is, let's say, Julie Ann, and email, I'm going to put in a random email. Okay, and I'm going to be writing the company Unispire Group. Okay, and I'm going to save this. Perfect. Now you can notice something here. If I go back to the contacts main page here, right, and if I scroll down and if I go to the company, which is also added as a contact here, you can see that here in Unispire Group, automatically Julie is also added as a contact, right? So I only need to click on the company and it will show me all the relevant contact person that are added in the company's contact list. All right. Now you can also notice something interesting. Let me go to, let's say, Brandon's account here. Okay, contacts. Scroll down, and this is Brandon's account, right? And you can see how it's written here. If I click on Brandon here, you can see at the top we have a lot of buttons here, right? Now, what do these buttons mean? In Odoo, we call them smart buttons, right? Why are they smart? Because each button, as you can see, are linked to this particular contact, right? For example, Brandon. There we can see right now there are 0 opportunities for Brandon. We can see there are 0 sales for Brandon, invoice 0, everything is 0. But as we move along with this person in our business, we are going to create an opportunity in CRM, let's say. We might have some sales from them. We might invoice something from them. We might create some meeting with them. We might create some tasks with them, etc. And then you don't need to go to each and every module to see that. If you want to see what is the current status of your action with this particular customer, let's say Brandon, you simply come in contacts, click on the name of the customer, and you should be able to see each and everything from here. If you want to see how many invoices there are for this customer, you simply click on invoice, and it will show you here. If you want to see how many tasks there are for this customer, simply click on tasks, and it will show you here, right? You can go back, come back here. And if you want to see what are the documents that you've added for this customer, simply click on documents, and you should be able to see that here as well. Okay. So this is something that's really, really interesting when you're using Odoo, is that you don't need to um, go to each and every module. You can simply access it from directly the contacts. Okay. Now let's go to CRM now. All right. Before we go to CRM, let me show you the website application of Odoo. Right now, a lot of business, you might already have a website, right? And a lot of business, you might not have a website, but Odoo allows you to create your own website, and you can host it within Odoo, and then you can send this, basically publish this website, you can edit it, publish it, and then you can actually have customers coming into this website, and whenever they fill up this form, it's actually going to create a lead for you in your CRM, right? Let's see how this works. So we have the website application here, and I'm going to open it. So let's pretend that we are a company, which is a consultancy company, and our business's name is Rapid Consultancy. Right? How do you like that? Okay, this is a homepage that I have created. Obviously, it's nothing fancy, but it gets the work done. Now, Rapid Consultancy is a business that primarily works with creating websites, creating application, helping in digital marketing, etc. for different businesses, right? Whenever a customer lands into this website, as you can see, the website is now published. That means if I copy this web link, right, and I go to, let's say, a guest profile, and I paste the link here, this is what the customer will be seeing, right? This is the exact thing that the customer sees. Now, let's say I am a customer. My name is, let's say, Rahman, and I want to contact this particular business. So I visit this website, and I click on contact us, right? And I write here the information. You can see Rapid Consultancy, Business by Dubai. The information is written here. I write my name. I can see that the phone number is optional, so I'm going to skip that. I can write my email here. I'm going to write the name of my company. My company's name is, let's say, Rahman's Fried Chicken. Okay. My subject is, let's say, what is the price of website design? And my question, let's say, or let's make this the question, and the subject, let's make this website development. All right. And now I want to click on submit. So the customer Rahman, whenever he clicks on submit, he's then sent to this page, which can also be edited, where they can see the message. The message here, which you can see, is basically a thank you message, but you can basically write here any message that you see fit. Okay. Let's go and close this for now, right? I'm not going to focus much on the website design because it's going to take a lot of time, but you get the idea, right? That you can edit the entire website by yourself. Now, since the customer has visited my website, and they have written, like, let's say they have added some information, the contact us page. Let's see how that looks in Odoo. Okay. So if I go to CRM, I should be able to see something in the news section, right? I can see there is an existing opportunity here, but this is old, and this is not the name of the business which the customer has just signed in. Is something wrong? Can somebody tell me what's going on here? Let me see if somebody has caught the problem here. Somebody has reached out to us on the website. Ideally, it should be coming to here, right? In the opportunity here, but it has not shown up here. Somebody is telling me that their website is on Odoo. It's an amazing app. Can you tell me, sir, that where can I go and find the lead or the opportunity which the customer has sent us through the website? Anybody? Let's take a few seconds and see if anybody can tell us. In the form, select create lead. That is true if I want to create a lead manually, right? If I know, let's say, if somebody has called me and told me that, hey, I want to receive your service, and then I can come to new and I can create this manually here, right? However, since somebody has already reached out to us via the website, it should already automatically convert to a lead, right? I think some of you have already got it. Yes, we can find it under leads, right? If I click on leads, you can see here website development from Rahman, and if I click here, I can see in the notes section the basically the comment that the individual has asked. Now, the reason why it's showing up on leads and not in the opportunity pipeline is, think about it. In your website, there might be so many people who are visiting, right? And not each and every person who is contacting you might be a potential customer, right? There are cases that there has been kids online who usually go to the websites and just fill up the form just for fun, right? Now, if all of those let's say requests are coming to your sales pipeline, it would be very, very difficult to find out which of them are actual customers and which of them aren't, right? If you get, even let's say somebody is messing with you and kind of going into the website and creating 10 forms, all 10 of those would show up here. We don't need that, right? That's why we have another filter which is called leads. Every time there is a request coming in your website, you click here and you will see all those leads or all those requests will be shown as leads here, so that your team can look into those and then they can see if these leads can be converted to an opportunity or they can be just marked as lost, right? Saves you your sales team a lot of time. Now if I click here, as somebody who is part of the rapid consultancy sales team, I click here and I see, okay, somebody has asked website development. I can see the company name, I can see the address, I can see the note that they've added, and I can also see one more thing, which is the probability, right? Now, this is a probability number which is generated by Odoo AI, and it takes into consideration a few things. For example, let's say if this particular opportunity has come from this particular city or this particular country, let's say, for example, and in the past, I have had a lot of businesses coming from this exact same city which have successfully closed. System gives this particular lead, which is also coming from the same city, a higher score, right? Also, for example, the salesperson assigned. If the salesperson assigned is somebody who is very experienced, who has closed a lot of deals before, that also adds to the probability as well. However, you can definitely change this probability as well by simply editing it manually, right? It's not something, for example, you can see here, if I click here, AI computer chances of winning, historic win rate by sales team, top negative is a new stage, right? So there are a couple of factors which adds into it, but you can definitely change it as well. The idea is to allow your team to be able to prioritize. If there is a probability, high probability, then they know, okay, this particular sales has a higher probability of closing. And then if compared to another lead, if it has a lower probability, then they should be able to provide more effort into that. All right. Perfect. Now you have seen this lead and now you feel that, okay, this is something that can be converted to an opportunity. I would like to go forward with this particular business, or let's say request. So you click on convert to opportunity. Then it asks you, do you want to convert this to an opportunity or do you want to merge with an existing opportunity? In this case, I want to convert it to a new opportunity. Who do you want to assign this opportunity to in your team? Which salesperson do you want to handle this particular opportunity? You can select from here. Okay. Right now, there's only one salesperson. That's me. So I'm going to select myself. And then, do you want to create a new customer of this particular contact, or do you want to link to an existing customer? No, I don't have this particular person as an existing customer. So I want to create a new customer. And when I click on create opportunity, two things are going to be happening. First of all, a opportunity is going to be created, and at the same time, a customer in the contact is going to be created under the name of this particular person. When I click on create opportunity, you can now see that this is now turned into an actual opportunity, right? If I go back to my sales and go back to my pipeline, you can now see finally that lead has converted to an actual opportunity. If I click on this opportunity, you can see we have a few more information here. For example, now I have a field which asks me what is the expected closing timeline, right? Now you should always have an expectation that, okay, by this time, next month, next week, I should be able to close this particular opportunity, right? So if I click here, let's say that I want, if today is the 7th, I want to close this by the 14th. I can add a priority here. Let's say this is a medium priority or a high priority. I can then also add an expected revenue. Now, let's say if somebody is asking me about website, developing a website, as a business owner, I would know what should be the expected revenue from this particular customer, right? So I can write here, whatever, like let me write here 2,580. This is expected from him. I can write here even more notes here. And if I click on contacts, you can see that Rehman's fried chicken is added as a contact with the contact name as Rehman Ahmed. So I don't have to even go back to the contacts application and click it. In one click, I have created an opportunity and I've also created a contact as well. Okay, perfect. Now let me save this and let me go back to the pipeline here. As you can see, we have a few stages here, right? We have new, qualified, discovery, proposition, negotiation, won, etc. I can easily edit the name of the stages if I want. I can simply go to, let's say, this one, click on the settings here, go to edit, and instead of proposition, I want to name this, let's say, proposal. I can do that. Click on save. I can move stage like this simply by dragging and dropping. I can move them. Okay. I can also add a new stage by simply clicking here and adding a new stage. Let's say I want to add a stage. Let's say I want to call it final negotiation. Right? I simply click here. Oops, sorry. Let me do that one more time. Final negotiation. Click here. Voila, done. I've created a new stage, right? Very easy to do so. Now, once I have created this opportunity, the next stage for me would be to qualify them, right? Move them across the sales cycle. As I move them across the sales cycle, I can do a couple of things here on the opportunity as well. If you see on this side here, this section, we have 3 buttons here: send message, log node, activity. On the on the opportunity itself, I can directly send an email to this customer, right? Somebody has probably asked me a while back, anything in Odoo related to email ID which we can use and manage emails in Odoo instead of Outlook or Gmail. This is exactly this is exactly that it's going to answer your question, right? So I want to email this particular opportunity, right? So I go to send message. You can see automatically into the customer is showing up. I can write here any kind of message, right? So what would be the probable message that I want to write him? Hi, what kind of website do you need? And I click on send. The moment I click on send, an email is going to be sent to this particular email address, which I've already added in the system, and it's going to be logged here as a record. Now, anybody who has access to this CRM, who logs into this particular opportunity, and in this section, if they come here, they will see, okay, Sheikh Rafid Anaf has sent the customer an email on the 7th of May at 11:54 a.m. UAE time, right? So anybody who's coming in here can see the trail of activities or actions that has been done with the client, right? So it's very easy to send a message. Just click here and then you can send an email. On the contrary, if you want to add an internal note, like a log note, but don't want the customer to receive as an email, you simply click on log note and you can log an internal note. For example, I have emailed the client and I want my team leader or my manager to know about this. I can do here. What I can do here is I can simply write here. I have emailed the client and will follow up by tomorrow. Right? I have added a note and I want to tag my manager as well. So I can simply click on at the rate and I can click on my manager. Right now, you can only see there's me, but if there were other employees added or other users added, I could simply tag them and then they would receive a notification. Okay. So let me click on log and now this is logged as a note here. The third thing that I can do here is I can create an activity, right? If I click on activity, I can create an activity. It could be an email, call, meeting. I can assign it to somebody. I can select a due date, etc. Okay, perfect. Now let's move forward, right? So now let's say I'm here and I want to move to the next stage. What is the next stage? The next stage is qualified. So either I can move it from here by clicking on qualified, or I can go back to the pipeline and I can simply drag this opportunity and move it to qualified like this as well. Okay. After qualified, the next stage is discovery. So I move it. Let's say I call the client and I have a discovery call with them. I understand their requirement. So I move them to the discovery stage. The next stage is proposal, right? This is the stage where I will actually send them a quotation. So what will I do? I can go here and now you can see at the top, I already have a new quotation button here. Okay. Now I can go back here and go to sales and then go to orders and then go to quotation and do the exact same thing by clicking on new. That I can do. But Odoo allows me to not even leave the CRM and directly send a quotation from the opportunity itself, right? Because that is the next logical step. Wouldn't you think so? Once I have added a lead to an opportunity, the next logical thing would be to send them a new quotation. So now let's go to new quotation. The customer's name is here. I can select an expiration date. I can select the payment term. We have a few default payment terms here. Let's go with, let's say, immediate payment. And now I can add a product here, right? And you can also see I have added a default term and condition here. Each and every quotation that I'm going to be sending out, I don't need to write down the terms and condition each and every time. It's going to be whatever I have set up in the system is going to show up in each and every quotation. Now I'm going to click on add a product. So I'm going to add a product here, right? I've already added a few products in the system. So I'm simply going to click on add a product. We can see we have a few products here: Android app development, consultation, digital marketing, etc., etc. I will select web development as a product. And you can see that the web development as a service, I'm going to charge 3,000. This is the sales price, right? So I'm going to be sending this to the customer. And I can also see if I want to add any discount, I can do that as well, right? Let's go ahead and hit 5% discount. You can see automatically the discount is being incorporated here. Okay. We have a few more information here which we do not need to see at this moment. So I'm going to skip all of them. If you want to add a new note here, you can write, this is an internal note, by the way. You can write the note here, right? Now, once you have done all of this, you can see that this particular quotation is in the quotation stage now. And now you want to send this to the customer. Before sending this to the customer, if you want to take a look at what the quotation looks like, you can do so here. Simply click on print. And I'm going to save this here in downloads. And I'm going to save it here. Now, if I open this, you can see that I have already configured the quotation to have the company logo, have the company address here as well. And you can see everything is neatly arranged here, including the payment term and the default terms and condition. This is the product name, quantity, the unit price, discount, any taxes, and then the total amount, right? Odoo allows you to configure your quotation to an extent, which you can change the theme, you can add your logo, you can even add a QR code if you want, right? So there are a few things that can be done when you want to change your quotation or basically configure your quotation. All right, now let's go ahead and send this particular quotation to the customer. How? I can simply click on the send button here. And then you can see there is a default email here. There is a default subject line, the name of the customer and the quotation number or the sales order number, and a default message here, right? You can definitely add or change the message. You can even create templates so that you can select. For example, you can see here, I have a few random templates here that's auto by default generated in Odoo, but I can create my own templates as well. You can see the quotation is attached here. And now I will simply click on send. Once I click on send, just like I showed you before, it is logged here as a record on this section. We call this section the chatter box. And you can see the email is sent with this quotation here. Now you can see that the stage has changed automatically from quotation to quotation sent, right? That means if I want to see what are the stages of all my quotations, how many quotations are in the draft stage, how many quotations have been sent, and how many quotations has been approved by the customer. So in order for me to see that, I can simply go to sales. I can go to here. You can see when I come into sales, I have the quotations by default open here. And you can see all the quotations, right? From starting from the first quotation till the last one which we created, the creation date, for which customer, who is the salesperson, and what is the total value of the quotation, and what is the status of the quotation. So you can see the first 5 quotations have been converted to a sales order. This quotation that we have just sent is in the quotation sent stage. All right. So you can very easily see the status of your quotations. Okay. If I want to continue my journey, I can simply click here and I can continue from here as well. Now you can see now we are in the sales module, right? But we are seeing the same page or the same view. So you can access the same view from multiple modules as well because they're all integrated, they're all connected with each other. Now, once I have sent this quotation to the customer, I will now, let's say the customer has told me, okay, they have seen the quotation and now they agree to this price. Once they agree to this price, they probably have emailed me a response, right? Based on that confirmation, I'm going to now confirm this quotation. Once I confirm this quotation will now become a sales order, right? So if I click on confirm, let's confirm this. Okay, so now you can see that the sales order is now confirmed. And now if you want to send the sales order to the customer, you can do that as well by simply clicking on send. And you can see that the sales order email template is a bit different. Again, you can edit all of this and now you can send this to the customer as well. And you can see now here in the chatter, there are 2 emails that you've sent. One is the quotation and the other is the sales order itself. Now, once you have sent the sales order to the customer, now you can actually start working on the task, which is the web development, right? Now, if I go back from sales, you will see we have an application called project. If I click on project, you can see I already have a few projects that I've created here. One of them is called web development, right? I can simply click on this project here. And now you can see that I've already pre-configured the stages of the project, right? Now, typically when somebody does a website development, these are usually the stages, right? So initially there's going to be like an initiation or like a kickoff, then like a requirement analysis. Somebody will create the MVP or let's say the demo. Then the demo is going to be validated. It's going to be tested, and then the website is going to be go live, right? So these are the stages. Now, what you can do is you can actually create a task here, link it to that particular customer, and then assign a project manager so that they can start working on this project, right? And then as they move across stages, you can see which stage the project is on. Now let's click on new, and I have a task here. I can name the task to be the customer's name. Let's say the customer's name is Rehman. And I can assign somebody. I'm going to assign myself for now and I'm going to add it. So I have added a task, right? And now I can also similarly prioritize this. If I click here, I can basically add a deadline. By when do I want this particular task to be completed, right? let's say by 14th. If you want to allocate a time that, okay, whoever is working on this project, I want you to work for this many hours, right? Let's say, for example, 5 hours. Okay. And here you can write here the description of the task, what you want them to do. You don't have to write them like in bullet point. You can simply click on this backslash and you have a lot of options here, right? You can even write a code here. You can write numbers list. You can even add an image, anything and everything, media, link, etc., right? Once you've added the information here, your assignee who has been assigned this particular project, they can now start working on this project, right? As they work on this project, if you want to track how much time they have been spending, they can simply click on timesheet and then they can add their tasks here and how much time they have consumed for each of these tasks, right? Now, before adding the timesheet, there's also something called a subtask, which you can, the task is basically this project, right? Which is developing a website for Mr. Rahman. Let's call this Rahman's web development. And what could be the subtask? Subtask could be the minor tasks that are needed to do this particular job. The first task could be, let's say initiation. Okay. The next task could be design. Third task could be development. Okay. Based on these tasks, if I click on this subtask, you can see I'm seeing something similar. That means inside the subtask, I can create even more subtasks, right? Now, let's say initiation, this particular project manager, they will click on timesheet and now they will add a description here, right? So let's say they click here and they go like, my first task for initiation, let's say requirement analysis. Right? And then they click on, let's say they spend 1 hour doing this. So they click on 1 and then they add it here. Okay, save it. Now, if I go back to the main task here, now you can see something interesting here, right? You can see that if I go to the timesheet, you can see that the total time spent is 1 hour. Total time remaining is 4 hours. Why? Because we have allocated 5 hours for this task and 20% of it has already been used up, right? So this is how you can easily keep track of the project progress. Now, once the project manager is working on this, once the developers have been working, designing is done, it's going to be moving across stages, right? So you can go to requirement analysis, then MVP, then validation. Now, the interesting thing here is you can also define for each stage an action. If I click here on edit, you can see that I can select an email template here. That means each time a particular task reaches this stage, an email is going to be sent to the customer of that task. So if I click here on email template, you can see here, this is a template, right? And if I click on save, whenever the task reaches here, an email which you can configure will be sent to the customer, right? So now in this example, whenever a task reaches the validation stage, an email can be sent to a customer telling that, okay, your project is now in the validation stage. We need you to look into the website and give us a feedback as to whether you like the website or not, right? Automated. You don't even need to worry that, okay, I have my project is now in the validation stage, so I have to go back, I have to reach out to the client, I have to send them the link, etc. No, it's all going to be automated. Okay. And let's say once all of these is done, you then finally move it to the go live stage. That means the project is now completed and you can then simply click on this button here from in progress. You can make it to done, that the task is completed. If the task has not been completed, you could then move it to the on hold stage as well. Every time a task is here, you know that, okay, for some reason the task is delayed. Let's say the task is completed. You click here, click on done, task is completed. Now that the task is completed, now you want to invoice the client, right? You want to invoice the client after the project has been completed. Or you can invoice the client before as well if you want to take a down payment, let's say. Let's take a look at that example. So we're going to go back from the project. Let's take a look here. Is everything okay? Okay, fine, everything is done. Description, subtask, done. Let's go back to the project here and let's go to my sales. This is the sales order that I've created for the project, right? Now you can see that since the sales order is confirmed, I will now create an invoice, right? Because my project is completed. So now I will create the invoice. So I can click on create invoice. A regular invoice will be created and I can send this to the client. Now, before I create the invoice, I also want to show you another example where the moment I confirm a sales order, a project is automatically created. Let's see how that looks like, right? Because this was manual. This is the first example. Let's take a look at what would happen when I create a sales order and it automatically creates a project. Let's go back to, let's say, my quotations, new quotation, select a customer. Let's say the customer is Big Burgers John Smith. I select everything and I select the product here. Okay, let's say the product is app development. Let me just check something quickly. Okay, let's take the example of this one. Android app development. Okay, let's take this example. So let's go back to quotations. And the product is Android app development. The product is, the price is 1500. It's a fixed price, right? So we can send this to the customer again. Let's just skip that and let's just confirm the sales order for now, right? So when I click on confirm, you can see here two buttons are added, two smart buttons are added. One is telling me that the moment I have confirmed this sales order, a project and a task is created. And you can see a timesheet button is created as well, which is linked to this particular sales order. In the previous example, which was sales order number 6, if I go back, you can see here there is no smart buttons because this particular service did not automatically create a project, but this particular service, it is creating an automatic project. Okay, so that means that this particular customer has agreed for this service, and since they have confirmed the sales order, then a project and a task is automatically created. Now if I click here, I can see that for iOS app development, this is the project stage, right? We can add more stages if you want, and a task is created automatically. The task name is the sales order number and the service itself, and it also has the customer name here as well. Now, if I click here, I can now add the same information here. I can add a deadline, I can add an allocated time, timesheet, subtask, etc. Okay, now let's go ahead and I can see we have an allocated time of 1 hour. Let's go ahead and add a timesheet. And let's say the task is app development. My developer has taken 1 hour, so I'm going to write here 1 hour. Or let's say I'm going to write here 30 minutes, right? So 1 hour is allocated and my developer has spent 30 minutes doing this task, right? So that's why he has written here 30 minutes. Okay. Now let's go back to the quotation here. And if I want to create an invoice, I have the option to create a regular invoice, or if I want to take a down payment before I start the service, I have the option to do that as well, right? So let's go with a regular invoice, create draft. You can see here that my product is here, Android app development. This is my service, right? And I have 1500 is the price, and this is the exact price that I'm charging the customer to, right? Why? Because it's a fixed price product. It's a fixed price service. You have asked me to develop an app for you, and I have charged you 1500 AD, and that's it, right? Now I can confirm this invoice. The moment I confirm this invoice, it's automatically going to be made into a journal entry in accounting, right? Now, which accounts are this going to be hit? You can see here, if I click on journal items, you can see already this is self configured here, right? Once we have made the configuration, you don't have to worry about manually adding the accounts and then manually debiting or crediting them. You can see here, just a simple example, whenever I'm making a sale, right? My revenue account or my sales account in this case, it's going to be credited by the amount. Then we have VAT, so the VAT output, which is a liability, is going to be credited as it increases. And then we have the accounts receivable, which is an asset account, which increases by debiting. All right. So the moment I click on confirm, these accounts are going to be hit. Okay. So if I click on confirm, you just remember this value here, 1575. If I click on confirm, right? Now this journal entry has been created. How do I see that? I can simply go to accounting, click on reporting, and then go to journal entry. And you can see here, this one. Okay. See, and when I click here, it brings me back to my sales, brings me back to my invoice as well. So the moment you confirm an invoice is only when it hits your accounting. Prior to that, whatever you do with your quotation or sales order, it doesn't hit accounting, right? So now that you have confirmed the invoice, it has hit your accounting. If I go to my journal ledger here, you can see that my accounts receivable is debited by this amount total, right? Now, if I go to my reporting and go to my balance sheet, you can see my total assets are this, out of which my receivables, if I click here, you can see this one. This is the one which I just did, right? So I am about to receive this amount of money from my customer. Great. Now, if I go back to sales, click here. Now you can see a few things here. This particular sales order has one task added. It has one invoice now added as well because I've sent them an invoice, right? So if I click here, this is the invoice. Now I can send this invoice to the customer as well. So if I click on send, this is the default email template here. I can click on send and this invoice will be sent to the customer. Okay. Let's take a bit of a pause here and let's go back to the comments section. If you guys have any questions so far, any confusion, you can let me know in the comments and I will be happy to go through them. Let's see if I've missed out any other comments. How to make different templates of invoices based on tax slab. You can make different quotation templates, right? You can make different quotation templates, and then whenever you are sending or creating a quotation, you can select one of the quotations from the quotation templates. All right. Let me show you what it looks like. So if I go to quotations here, let's say I'm going to create a new quotation. You can see there's an option for quotation template. So if you configure the templates from before, you can simply click here and see, for example, I've created a quotation template for web development. The moment I click this, you can see the expiration date comes up, the product comes up, and the price and everything else comes up here as well. So in the quotation template, I can select when I was creating this. If I go here, if I go into the template itself, I can select here, for example, which product is it for. I can write here the terms and condition, and I can also write here the quantity as well, right? I can also add a note here. I can add any section here. So these are the changes that I can do here, but I don't think we can have a quotation template specifically based on the tax slabs, if that answers your question. All right. Okay, so moving on. Let's move on now, right? So I've shown you two examples of an invoice, right? One is where an invoice or a sales order is confirmed for a service which does not automatically create a project. And the second one was where it automatically creates a project, right? Now let me show you a third one where it creates a project automatically, but in order to bill the client, I have to bill them based on the timesheet, right? Not based on the fixed price, right? So if I go to products here, and I'm going to show you one product which is invoice. You can see here invoicing policy, prepaid or fixed price, right? Then we have one product which is based on milestones, right? And then we have another product which is based on timesheet. So let's take an example of digital marketing. So you will be able to see what a timesheet billing a client based on timesheet looks like, right? So in order to do this, we have to go back to orders again. And this time I'm not going to go through quotation. I'm just directly going to go to sales order. Select a customer. I have many customers here. If I want to add a new customer, I can do it right here from this screen as well, right? Let's say a customer's name is Ali. So I'm just going to type here Ali, and it's asking me, do you want to create Ali? I go like, yes, I want to create. It's also asking me, do I want to create and edit? I can do that. I click here. This page opens again, which we have seen in the first half of the demo. We create the person, right here the name. So let's say it's ali@test.com, and then we click on save. Perfect. Now we add the product. The product is digital marketing. And as you can see that this product is going to be built based on the timesheet, the number of hours that you are putting on. That's why the unit is now in hours, right? So you can add here the unit price to send to the customer, that for every hour that I'm going to be spending on making your digital marketing campaign, let's say I'm going to be charging you, let's say 25 dirhams per hour. Okay, no discount whatsoever. And now I'm going to confirm this sales order. The sales order is confirmed, and as you can see, a project and a task is also automatically created. Now, if I want to create an invoice now, let's see what happens. If I click on create invoice, and let's say if I want to click on regular invoice, it's not allowing me to create an invoice. Why? Because there are no items available to invoice. The product is set up in a way where I can only invoice the number of time that I've spent on this project. If I'm spending 1 hour, then the rate, which is 25 dirham per hour, and if I've spent 1 hour on this project, I can bill the client for 1 hour only. If I've spent 2 hours, then I can only bill 2 hours or less, right? So in order to do that, let's cancel this, go to the project here. Now we have already created a project template for digital marketing. As you can see, a task is created as usual. Now, if I want, I can click on this task and I can add the timesheet here, or I can even allocate a time here, right? So let's say that the time that I've allocated here is, let's say, 5 hours, out of which I am going to timesheet now for task 1, let's say 1 hour. That means for this particular project, my employee has worked for 1 hour on this project, right? That means 20% of the allocated time for this project has already been consumed. If you want, now you can send this or bill the client for 1 hour if you want. It depends on you. If you want to bill the client on 1 hour, you can. If you want to bill the client on 2.5 hours, or you want to bill the client at the end for 5 hours, you can do that. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go back to the sales order. Now you can see I can go back by clicking here. I can also go back by clicking here as well. This is called a breadcrumb or smart link in Odoo as well. So anyways, let's go back here. And now I want to invoice the client based on the number of hours that I've recorded. How many hours? 1 hour. So now if I click on create invoice, you can see it's now asking me what timesheet period do you want to bill the client, right? I want to timesheet today's period, right? Because I've added 1 hour of task today. So if I click on timesheet period, today is 7th. So I'm just going to click 7 to 7th. And now I'm going to click on create draft. So I worked for 1 hour. And if you remember, the price was 25 dirham per hour. So that means I will be able to bill the client not more than 25 dirham plus the tax amount, right? Let's say I confirm this. Again, the moment I confirm this is now going to be hitting my journals like this, okay? This is the sales order. If I go back here, this is the invoice. And if I want, I can send this to the client. And if I go back to the invoice, you can see here that the invoice amount doesn't change here, right? Why? Sorry, the sales order amount doesn't change here. I go back to the project again. And let's say now I'm moving across stages, right? And now here, I'm going to timesheet again. let's say the task is completed, right? So I've done task 2, and this time I have spent 4 hours, right? That means now total 5 hours has been completed of this particular project, and now I will be able to bill the rest of the hours, which is 4 hours, right? So what will I do? I will go back to the sales order again, and I will click on create invoice again, right? This is going to be the second invoice, and you're going to be seeing that in the second invoice, automatically it's going to calculate 4 hours and not take the first 1 hour, because for that we have already created an invoice. So it prevents any duplicate invoices to be created. So I click on create invoice here. I select the timesheet period yet again and click on create draft. Now you can see here, although the timesheet period is same, the 7th of May, it's only taking 4 hours because the first hour has already been invoiced. So 4 into 25 is 100, and then 105 due to the VAT amount. I can confirm this, right? Now, if I go back to the sales order, you will see a few things here. First of all, one project, one task. Definitely you can move it to here and mark this project as completed by simply clicking here, done. The project is completed. You have recorded 5 hours in this project, and there are 2 invoices. One is for 1 hour and the other is for 4 hours. So this is the total amount that you have invoiced the client. Okay. Let me show you one more example, and then we're going to be moving to the accounting, and that is going to be the end of our session, right? Now, before I move into accounting, let's talk about one more example of another type of product or service, which you can bill the client based on milestones. Sometimes you may not be able to timesheet, or you may not require to timesheet, right? So in those cases, you will be able to bill the client based on certain milestones. Let's take an example. If I go back to the products here, if I click on digital marketing, you can see not digital marketing, this one, consultation. You can see that consultation is a type of a service which you invoice based on milestone. That means you set up certain milestones. Each time you reach those milestones, you can then bill the client, right? So let's go and see how this works, how this looks like. Let's go to orders, new, select a customer. Let's select Fatima now. Let's go to add a product, and we are going to be selecting consultation, right? Now, similar to the digital marketing, consultation is not a fixed price product, right? You bill the client as you reach the, the milestones, right? So what we can do is we can write here the price of the product, right? Let's say the price is consultation, right? So it could be like a big ticket service. So let's say 5,000 dirham, right? And now I confirm this. Okay. Now you can see here that one project and one task is created, and a milestone button is created as well. Similarly, if I want to create an invoice now, regular invoice, I can't. Okay. In that case, what I can do is I can actually, let's say, I can create an invoice for a down payment, right? I can't create an invoice for the entire payment because I haven't reached the milestones yet, but I can definitely take like a down payment, right? And that makes sense because I'm taking a down payment from you, and then I'm going to be providing you with the service, right? So let's take a down payment of 280, and let's say I'm going to confirm this. Okay, fine, let's keep it at that. Let's go back to the sales order, and you can see here in the sales order itself now, this is the product. This is the total price, out of which one down payment has already been provided. So that means this is now the down payment reference is also attached here as well. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the milestones now, right? Now you can define what would be the milestones and what percentage you will be able to bill the client based on the milestones that are reached, right? So if I click on milestones here, you can see that there's one milestone which is added by default, right? I can change the name to, let's say, initial phase, and I would like to take, let's say, 50%, and then go new, and let's say final phase, and then again add 50%. Okay. These are the two milestones. Now, do keep in mind that we have already charged 20% of this amount, not 20%, 280 from this amount. So whatever amount that is remaining, the milestones will be computed based on that, right? Okay. Now let's go to the project. So this is a project. The task has been created. These are the project stages. And just like I have shown you in the beginning for the to do, you can definitely add more stages and change the name of the stages anytime. Okay. So if you click here, and then you can add in, just like the other projects, you can add in the deadline, the allocated time, timesheet, subtask, everything. You can add everything here, right? Okay. Now this project is in the initial phase, right? Which is the milestone is initial phase. You select that, save this, go back to the task, and let's say you move it to in progress. Okay, that's fine. Once you're here, you go to the orders, you go to milestone. These are the two milestones which we created, right? Now, let's say the initial phase milestone has been reached. So we click on reached. The moment we click on reached, we can save this. And now we can create an invoice, right? Now you can see here, consultation, zero point 0.5 delivered. That means you have reached 50% of the promise that you have given to the customer. Now, if you click on create invoice and see, it already shows here as well that you already invoiced 280. Now you want to create a regular invoice. So you click on regular invoice and you click on create draft and see what's happening here. This is the total amount, right? And you're charging the customer 50% of it. 190 is being deducted from this amount because you've already invoiced the customer that, right? And all of this is happening automatically, right? You don't have to keep a note or keep a track of anything anywhere. Each and every kind of dynamics that you're having through a sale, it's happening automatically here, right? Any questions, guys, so far? Do you want me to move forward? Do you want me to take a pause? Do you want me to repeat something? Please write down in the comments. Are you guys still with me? Feel free to write down in the comment, please. Okay, let's move forward then. So this is fine, right? Okay, so I'm just going to select the invoice date to be today, and then I'm going to be confirming this. Now this is invoice is confirmed, right? Now you can see that if I go back to the sales order now, okay, the down payment information is still there. And now there are two invoices. The first one was a 281 and the second one is a 50% milestone one. That means we still have another 50% to be completed. So if I go here and let's say now I have finished the second or the final phase of my project, the second milestone is reached as well, right? So I can click here, save. And now if I come back here, I can now create an invoice for the second 50%. And you can see already invoiced is this much. So each time that you're progressing through the milestones, the invoice amount is here as well. And now I can click on create draft. So the quantity is now the rest 50%, which is this amount. But this time the 200 is not being deducted because that has been already accounted for in the last invoice. And now I can click on confirm. Voila. All right. Okay. So now if I click here, I can see that for this particular project, let's say this is done, right? The project is done. I have two milestones and I've already reached those two milestones, as well as I have three invoices. The first invoice is for the down payment and the rest two invoices are for the 50%, for the milestones that we have reached. Now, let's take an example of how we are going to be dealing with this invoice, right? We're going to be talking about the accounting part of it now. These invoices, you can see the status of these invoices are posted, right? If I click on orders here and go to orders, right? You can see that all of these, it says fully invoiced, right? But fully invoiced, what does it mean? It means that the invoices have been confirmed. That means it is affecting our accounting. It has affected our journal entries, but we haven't received the payment yet. All right. So let's see how that would look like. Let's start off with this example for Fatima, and let's take a look at all these three individual invoices, right? So let's take the first one here. Now I can send this invoice to the customer, obviously. So I can click on send and I can send this to the customer. Let's skip this for now. I can print this as well. And now I want to pay. When I click on pay, this pay doesn't mean that I'm paying. This pay means that the customer is paying and I want to register that payment, right? Now there are two ways to register a payment in the system. One is you are registering a payment and then you reconcile that payment by uploading a bank statement or manually uploading a payment information. That's the first method. The second method is you completely bypass that reconciliation and you can directly have the system add the payment, right? So I'm going to show you both the ways. So if I click on pay, it's going to ask me which journal I want to use. Now, I have two journals here for an example, Bank 1 and Bank 2. In Bank 1, whenever I click here and I click on create payment, it's going to add the amount in a suspense account, right? So if I click on create payment, you can see it says in payment. That means the bank account has yet to receive the payment, right? It's still in a suspensory account. So it says in payment. Now, how do I change the status from in payment to paid? For that, we need to now finally jump in the accounting module. So now if I click back here, and if I want to go to accounting, right, I might need to look for accounting, right, like this. But I can easily click on a shortcut. I can just type in here accounting, ACC, and I can go to accounting, right? The moment you enter accounting, you can see a few things here, right? You can see how many sales that you have done, how many purchases that you have done, what are the amounts in each bank, etc. Right? Now, if I click on bank, where I have received the payment, right? If I click here and I upload my bank statement here, then it will automatically reconcile with the payments that I have already made. Since I don't have a bank statement, what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply click on new. And here I'm going to write, let's say against invoice. Select the partner. The partner's name is Fatima. And the amount. What was the amount? Let's go back here. The amount is 200, right? And see the status is in payment. So if I go here and click on 200 here, and now if I want to add, if I click on add and close, see what happens. See, this has automatically matched with the payment which I've already done before, right? So if I click here, this is the payment. And now you can see that if I click on the invoices part again, Fatima for 280, it's now paid. If I click here, you can see from in payment, this has moved to paid. Okay. Let me show this to you one more time, right? Let me go back to invoices and let's take this one, for example. I want to receive the payment for this 50% or this amount. So be careful and see what happens here, right? These are the journal items that it's going to be affecting, right? What are them? What are those? First of all is sales account. It's going to credit the sales account because it's a revenue type account. Next is another sales account because of the down payment and it's going to be debited. Then we have the VAT output. This is a tax liability, so it's going to be credited. And then we have accounts receivable, which is an asset type account, so it's going to be debited. All right. Now let's go here and let's click on pay. Let's select the same journal and now click on create payment. And this is in payment again, right? Great. Now, if I go to accounting and if I go to journal entries, you can see here that this one, 2425, these are the accounts which this has hit. The outstanding receipt, right? This is the suspense account. This has been debited and accounts receivable has been credited. When we reconcile the payment, then accounts receivable becomes debited and the bank account gets credited, right? So let's see how that happens in real time. So let's go back to the invoices. This one is in payment, right? For this amount, 2425. So let's select this amount. And what do? We go to payments. We go to the bank. This is the bank where we have to make the payment to. We go to bank, click on new, and we can write here against invoice. It's better to write the name of the number of the invoice, but we're just going to avoid that for now. Select the partner, Fatima, and select the amount here. Okay, and now we click on add and close. Similarly, again, you can see that Odoo has automatically matched it with that particular payment. Okay, perfect. Now, if I come here and if I click here, right. Now let's take the last invoice, which is this one, right? So the previous two invoices have already been paid. This time I want to do something different. Instead of receiving the payment in bank one, where it shows in payment and then I have to make a reconciliation, this time I'm going to receive the payment in bank two, which I have configured to bypass the requirement of a reconciliation, right? So I simply click on pay, I click on bank two, and I click on create payment. And as you can see, it automatically says paid, right? So these are the two different variations of it. In the first one, we have to manually reconcile it, the payment with a payment in the bank, right? Or transaction in the bank, let's say. In the second one, we don't need to reconcile it. It is automatically hitting the bank. So if I go to dashboard, see in the bank, if I go to the balance or if I go to transactions, you can see here, the this one. This is the last one. Fatima 2625 has been debited here. All right. So these are the two ways where you can basically have the customers pay the invoices. All right. If there are changes in the contract, how will the adjustments to implemented? I'm not sure which contract you mean. If you're talking about the contract for a customer, how will the adjustments to be implemented? Well, for example, let's say if you have a contract with a customer and then there are changes in the contract, then ideally you should have a new version or a new revision of that contract, right? So whenever there's a new revision of the contract based on that contract, the new next, let's say the payment or the revenue or the invoices should be managed that way. Okay. Now let's look a bit more into accounting and then we're going to be ending our session, right? So we've talked about a few things. Let's do a bit of a recap for now, right? We talked about how we can add contacts. We talked about how we can manage our leads in the CRM. We also talked about sales. Then we talked about how we can generate projects from different kinds of sales, right? We can generate project manually. We can generate a project automatically and bill them by timesheet. We can also bill customers by milestones that we reach as well, right? And we have also seen how we can bill the customer and how we can invoice them and how we can receive payments in multiple ways. Now, in most cases, whenever we are doing a project for a customer, right, there are certain expenses that we do for the let's say the customer, right? Now, for example, let's say if a customer is coming to me and is asking for consultation, right? They want to receive consultation. Basically, let's say they have a business and they have come to me for advice, etc. Now, I'm going to charge them by sending them an invoice, right? But I also might need to make some expenditure in order to provide that service to him. For example, I might have to travel, so I need to pay for taxi. I might have to purchase documents. I might have to print them out. I might have to pay some fees, etc. Right? All of these are going to be expenses, right? Now, these expenses are going to be deducted from the revenue, and then whatever is remaining is going to be my profit for that particular project, right? There is a very, very interesting and easy way to be able to manage that, and that is known as analytic accounting, right? I'm not going to be talking too much about that today. Maybe we can discuss about that some other day, but just wanted to show you how that kind of looks like, right? Perfect. So if I go to accounting here, and then if I go to analytic accounts, you can see we have a few analytic accounts created here, right? Okay. Let's take an example of a different sale first, right? So I'm going to go to orders, and I'm going to create a new quotation for, let's say this time Susan, the same product, which is consultation. Let's say the unit price that we have decided is, let's say 25. Okay, let's keep it at that. And let's say I have confirmed this. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the milestones first. Okay. So I can add the milestones here. We all know how to do that. Okay. Now you will notice something interesting here is whenever I reach the milestone here and I go back to the sales order, right? I can now create the invoice. So I'm going to click on create invoice. And here you can see in the invoice, there is a field which is called analytic, right? Analytic account is basically a cost center. Whenever we create a new sales order, a new analytic account can be created automatically with the name of the sales order number and the name of the customer, right? So you can see that for this particular project, I have charged a revenue of, let's say, $25 or 25 dirhams. And I've added this account here. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's confirm this. Beautiful. Let's go to pay and let's say I'm going to receive this payment as well. So I've received this amount. Perfect. Now let's say that in order to do the consultation for Susan, I have to go through some expenses myself, right? So in order to go through that expense, I'm going to now send some bills, right? So what do? I simply go to accounting, go to vendors, bills, right? And I want to upload a new bill. So let's say the vendor's name is David, and I'm just going to write here, let's say expense. And the price for this particular expense is, let's say, 5 dirham. Okay. Now I have to select that same account here, which is this one. And I can select multiple accounts here, multiple cost centers, and I can select what percentage of it contributes to it, right? For this case, let's just select this to be 100% of this one particular cost center. This is a bill, and I'm going to confirm this. Let's select the bill date, and I'm going to confirm this. And I'm going to pay the bill as well, and I'm going to use the same method, bank to, and click on create payment. Perfect. Now, for one particular customer, I have generated a revenue, and for that same particular customer, by adding the same analytic account, I have also incurred a cost or incurred an expense. How am I able to see how much is the net profit that I have remaining for this particular project? For that, I can simply go to configuration, analytic accounts, and this is the name of the account, right? Susan is the name of the customer project, and you can see here the total credit is 25, total debit is 5, balance is 20. If I click here, I can also see my gross margin here as well. I can see what are the number of projects added to this account, what are the number of customer invoices, what are the number of bills, and what are the number of sales as well. So analytic account is kind of like a cost center that you can add to your sales or your project, and that helps you kind of manage your gross profitability for each project that you're doing. All right. Perfect. So we covered more or less a lot of things, right? Uh, and then we are also going to be talking about a few more things. Yes, appointments. So appointments is something that I was meaning to touch a bit. So we are going to talk about appointment and help desk as well, right? So remember the flow that we showed you in the demonstration, right? We have lead generation in CRM, accounting in the end, and then we talked about customer lifetime value, right? Which is customer support. So how do we manage that customer support? So we're going to talk about the last two sections here, which is appointments and help desk. Appointments is where you can create an appointment, right? So I have already created an appointment and I named it book a meeting with our expert. It's a 1 hour duration. And if I click on share, then I have a link here, which I go back and I open my guest profile, let's say, and I paste it here. The customer will be able to click on this link and they will be able to see something like this, where I have already configured what are the days that I am free, right? I am only available on Monday and Wednesday, so the customer can only book me on Mondays and Wednesdays, and these are the available time, right? And the meeting is going to be online. So all the information is here. So let's say the customer selects 15th and selects the time 2 p.m. And then these are some important information that is required by the customer to provide. The customer can write here full name. Let's say the customer's name is, John Cena. Why not? The customer's email, let's put it here as well, john@test.com. Let's also put the phone number because you can see this is a mandatory information. So just going to put like a random number here. And what is it that you want to speak about, right? So I've put here a few options here as well. So the customer can select something that they want to speak about, right? So they want to speak about digital marketing. Are they an existing client? Yes or no? This is an important question. So they select no, they're not an existing client. And now they click on confirm appointment. Now, when they click on confirm appointment, the appointment is going to be confirmed and they're going to be seeing a page like this, which they can also add to their own Outlook or Google Agenda so that it sends them as a reminder. And on our end, on Odoo's end, if I refresh this, now you can see here, I had one meeting that I have done before, but right now I have another meeting that was booked, right? And I can see 2 meetings upcoming. If I click here, I can see on my calendar which dates I have the meetings. So I can see I have 2 bookings, one on the 11th by David, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. This is the question that he has asked, right? This is his phone number, save and close. And on 15th, I have another inquiry by John. These are his question and phone number, and I can save and close, right? This is very, very easily, you can create a booking and then your customers or potential customers can come and they can basically create an appointment with you. Now, it's also possible that whenever they create an appointment with you, that is also created as an opportunity or a lead in the CRM as well. If I go to CRM, you can see John Cena, they have created, basically booked a meeting with you. And at the same time, it has also created an opportunity. Makes sense, right? So you can then move this new opportunity across the stage and then close him as well. Okay. Now, the last thing before we end our session today is help desk. Help desk is an application which allows you to access your customers, where customers can send in tickets for any kind of issues they're facing, and it allows you to see how your customer support team is doing to help them with these tickets, right? As you remember, as I said, it's important to provide good service to your client, but it's also very important to provide a good after-sales service as well. So this is what the help desk looks like, right? You can see here that by default, this is my dashboard. So I can see in my tickets, right now I have 0 open tickets, 0 failed tickets. I have 2 closed tickets, out of which 100% SLS success rate, right? That means 100% of them have followed the SLA. Okay, great. Now, how do my customers create a ticket? Okay. For example, if you can see here, there is an email address here, customer.care@rapid-consultancy.odoo.com. Okay. Now, can somebody send me an email here? I know it's a bit long email, but just send me any email here, and that should reach here as a ticket. Let's see. Let's try and do this. Can somebody do this? I can try and write the email in the comments here. Let me try and write the email in the comments. Okay, I have written the email address in the comments here. Somebody, can you just copy the email and send me any email, like a test email, anything, just to show you how this works. Can you please quickly cover timesheet of my virtual team members? Um, yeah, I'll go back to timesheets. But what do you mean by virtual team members? Team members who are not your users? Please elaborate on this a bit. Okay. And if somebody has sent me an email to book an appointment, no. To book an appointment, it's not necessary. For example, if I go back to the appointments, right, and you can see this is one of my appointment. I can also create any kind of appointment, right? It could be a meeting, it could be a paid consultation, it could be a video call, any kind of appointment I can configure, right? I have configured one which I've named book a meeting with our expert. If I click on this share, a link is going to be generated. Now, I am going to be signing out from my Odoo database, right? I'm going to be logging into a guest database, right? And as you can see, I am now going to pretend to be a normal customer who doesn't have Odoo software, right? But I will be able to see a page like this, all right? I will be able to see a page like this, but it doesn't mean that I'm logged into Odoo. Anybody, even if I give you the link right now, even you can go in and you can check out what it looks like. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, coming back to our help desk, let's see if anybody has sent me any email. Perfect. I think Mr. Bilal has sent us an email. So as you can see, as he has sent an email, it has already showing here as one open ticket, which is also unassigned, right? Now, if I click here, it's going to show me that, okay, similar to our project and task, we have stages here as well. And this is the this is the ticket number, which is 3 by Bilal. And this is the name or the task that he has added here, right? And for example, he has written here, hi, but whatever the discussion or the issue he would have written here, and then I can make a prioritization, assign somebody here, and I can save it. I have also the option to convert this to a lead, right? It could happen that somebody is reaching out to me via my support email because probably they don't have access to my website or any of my email, right? It does happen. Sometimes we reach out to a business by any email that we find. So you can always click on convert to lead and convert this support ticket to a lead as well. Anyways, so now let's say that we have this is in progress, this is on hold, and then finally this is solved. Now SLA, right? SLA is basically kind of like an agreement, right? Now in my SLA, if I go here, I have created an SLA which tells me that my target it has to be in the solve stage within 1 hour of assigning this to me, right? So if I put this after 1 hour, then this breaches my SLA, but it is solved within 1 hour, then my SLA target is achieved, right? So if I go back to my tickets, this one, and this is solved, right? And you can see how long it has spent in each stage. It has spent 2 minutes in the new stage, 1 minute in progress, 1 minute on hold, and 1 minute in solved. That means ideally I should have achieved my SLAs. If I go back to my overview, you can see yes, my SLA rate is still 100%. The 3 tickets that I closed, 3 of them have been closed or solved within my SLA target time. Okay. You have 4 to 5 team members who are working virtually. How can I check their timesheet and attendance, etc.? Attendance is something that we won't be able to talk about today because that's a different scope. But just to give you a quick idea, right? You have virtual team members who are working virtually, right? But are they able to access Odoo? They surely can, right? If they are your user, if you have added them to the Odoo database, right? You can definitely ask them to log into Odoo and they can simply click on the timesheet application and fill in the timesheet. For example, let's say if an employee working virtually, they can access the Odoo database from anywhere in the world, right? They don't have to technically come into your company. If that is what you're meaning by virtual employees, right? Now, I being a virtual employee, I can click on timesheet. I can click on any of the tasks which has been assigned to me, and I can add my time here. No issues. Similar with attendance, right? If I am a virtual employee, right, I can simply go to the attendance application, which is not here at the moment, and I can log in manually my attendance, right? So that can be done. But maybe for the attendance, maybe we are going to be talking about that in a different session, maybe soon. But for today's session, we focus mainly on the services industry and not on HR or anything else. All right. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We have spent a good number of hours in speaking about a lot of things. Now, I may have missed out on a few things. I may have missed out on answering a few questions as well. Feel free to still post your questions here. Even after we're done with the session, these comments are still going to be here. So, me or anybody from my Odoo team are going to be looking into these questions and they might be able to get back to you as well. Right? Now, in the last note, what I would like to tell is we have a lot of similar events happening throughout throughout the year. So feel free to scan this QR code. Once you scan this, it will take you to the Odoo events page, and you will be able to find a lot of events happening. Some are going to be physical events, maybe in your city. Some are going to be webinars such as this. Feel free to sign up to those events, and you can learn a lot more about Odoo. All right. So, on that note, I would just like to say thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure hosting this webinar. My name is Rafid, and I hope to meet all of you very soon. Thank you so much. Take care and bye bye.